City unleashed a can of whoop-ass on Chelsea in the first half and ended up 3-1 winners. Mark, this felt to me, and I only watched on television, as if I was traveling back in time to 2018-19, something like that. They were that impressive. And they did it, let's not forget, with a bunch of players out. Maybe not necessarily key players, but you're talking Jesus, you're talking Aguero, you're talking Ferran Torres, you're talking Ake, you're talking Laporte, you're talking Ederson. So guys who would have at least given Pep some options. He really didn't have much options other than the 11 that he actually played. And I thought that was also really impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we have to factor in the disruption as well that City have had this week. The training ground was closed for a couple of days. So it's been a difficult week for City. And I think, Pep really showed his quality yesterday. He managed to get a fantastic performance out of a group of players, which wouldn't be his first choice team. I think he, putting De Bruyne as a false nine and he did. Chelsea were terrible, let's be honest. Chelsea helped City be brilliant yesterday, but you can't take away from the fact that City was so good and they moved the ball so quickly. And it was a devastating performance. And to me, it showed that there are two teams in the Premier League that can maybe go and win 10, 12 games on the bounce, and that's Liverpool and Man City. So people suggesting that this title race is between Liverpool and Man United, I think we've got to factor in Man City as well, because City can go on a run of games and perform like that every week.
I should also point out Leicester a single point back. I'm wondering, though, just before we go to Chelsea, is it easier for them to move the ball quickly and play in this way when Aguero and Jesus or Jesus aren't there?
I think it's easy when Aguero's not there. I think Jesus helps play that way a little bit more than Aguero. But no, De Bruyne was interested in that role yesterday. I think he played well. I think when Aguero plays, it's a slightly different way of playing because he's not as mobile as he used to be. He does more work than he did, under Pellegrini. But he still isn't the sort of player that Pep would ideally want in that role. But, City could have moved it quicker if Fernandinho was in ahead of Rodri. I thought Rodri had a difficult start, but grew into the game. Look, City have got a very good squad, and I think that was evident yesterday. People have talked about the strongest 11 available, but they've got a squad of 25 top-quality players, and it showed. Phil Foden, again, great goal he scored yesterday. They're a really, really strong squad, and it's just taken a while for them to get going this season.
It's the best I've seen from a team this season.
I mean, it's no exaggeration to say they could have scored half a dozen goals. Before they even scored, there was that chance that De Bruyne put wide, and I was thinking, wow, wait. I thought,
Foden header.
No, my reaction was, I'm like, I hope it's not going to be one of those days for De Bruyne, right? Because if this happens, then Chelsea are going to win. And then, of course, he showed us that it wasn't one of those days. If you're right, the Foden header. I mean, there was a bunch of these. What I'm wondering about is we see this, right? And we often talk about managers, or managers like to talk about giving concepts rather than specific tactics. And the concepts are going to be interpreted differently by players with different qualities and whatnot. When Jesus returns, or at some point, he's going to want to play with a center forward. Do they lose some of what they had in that game? People said De Bruyne played as a false nine.
Yeah,
from what I could see on television, I don't know why we call it false nine when the guy's not a natural central striker plays there. Because what I saw a lot of Sterling through the middle. I saw a lot of Foden through the middle. I saw some De Bruyne. I saw some Bernardo Silva through the middle.
His average position is very much in the center, and Sterling on the right, and Bernardo.
So then why is he a false nine?
No. He called himself. He said himself, "I was a deeper striker." A deep striker, he said.
Deep striker.
Yeah.
Okay. I love these semantics. But how does that translate when you go from a deep striker to Jesus or Aguero, who are very much strikers who you want to have lined up with the last defender, Mark?
It depends who you're playing against, doesn't it? It depends which team you're up against. Yeah. I think, Jesus and Aguero will stretch the game a bit more than De Bruyne would. It's horses for courses, and I think, I've never been the biggest fan of Jesus, but you can't deny that he occupies defenders and he makes them work. So it's a different kind of a challenge that De Bruyne will pose.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.